This is Omar Nashashibi from Washington D.C. with an update on the latest with regards to the United States negotiating free trade agreements with overseas allies. While much of the attention has been focused on trade disputes with the United States and other countries such as China, the European Union, and others, there has been a number of actions taken by the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative since the early spring or so to engage in negotiations to expand the free trade reach of the United States into other areas and territories. Most recently, the United States and United Kingdom are working to complete a comprehensive trade agreement between the two countries that the UK is hoping that will be completed prior to the November 3rd U.S. presidential election. While we have not received a response from the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative as to whether that timeline can be met, many of us in Washington do believe that is quite ambitious, likely difficult, but not impossible to achieve, given all that is happening right now. Were they to meet this November 3rd deadline, sources in Washington indicate the parties would likely need to have most of the negotiations completed by mid-August or so in order to be able to translate the negotiated language into formal text that the two parties would then scrub and begin to take before their respective bodies and be able to announce it in a deal. Again, the president's certainly very eager to make this announcement prior to the November election for obvious reasons, and we'll see how that is done. We have to keep in mind that right now all free trade negotiations are being done remotely via Skype and Zoom and other virtual methods that many of us have also become accustomed. This also makes it very difficult to, quote, close the deal. In trade negotiations, as in many others, typically the last 10% is the most difficult to achieve, and those are really when you require the principals themselves to come into a room and iron out many of those details. So some in Washington are skeptical if we can get to a comprehensive deal prior to the election. Most think that we probably would exclude agriculture items, maybe some manufactured goods, and rather focus more on financial services and the regular traditional service industries, when also looking at potentially some areas of standards and regulatory compliance and alignment between the United States and the United Kingdom. So we will see where those go to, because agriculture traditionally has been a difficult issue for more European Union countries and also now the UK as they seek to negotiate on their own. However, we are hearing that as they move forward towards a full-fledged agreement between the two parties, that we are hearing that the two sides are proposing text for the proposed pact to comprise 30 chapters. That is pretty significant. The new NAFTA, the USMCA, is over 30 chapters as well. So with that ambitious target, we do understand that they are trying to move forward. We should have a better sense of where they are towards the end of July and if they are going to be able to meet that timeline of being able to wrap up negotiations towards the end of this summer and certainly prior to Labor Day. As far as the broader European Union and United States negotiations go, those are virtually non-existent as far as a free trade agreement is concerned. A lot of animosity has been building up between the two countries over the last year and a half or so, between the Boeing and Airbus aviation dispute, the retaliatory tariffs the administration has imposed on European products. In that instance, the 232 steel and aluminum tariffs, the threat of auto tariffs, now the reduction in NATO forces in Germany as well. And so we don't really see, from what we're hearing from both sides, frankly, from Brussels and from Washington, that there's going to be much movement on a comprehensive trade pact between the EU nations remaining and the United States anytime soon. However, there is another bright spot. The U.S. did notify in March, the President of the United States did notify the U.S. Congress back in March that they are beginning negotiations with Kenya on a U.S. free trade agreement between the two countries as well. And we understand progress is being made. Their hope, again, is to try to wrap something up before the presidential election on November 3rd.